Now that the hardware section of our build is complete, we need to install Windows. To install Windows, we're first going to need to create a bootable Windows installation media. So to do this, go on a different PC and search for the Windows Media Creation tool. We want Windows 10, so we're going to download the Windows 10 image. Choose Download Tool Now and save it. Next, launch the tool, and the first thing you'll see is this. Accept the notice, and then it'll continue loading. The next screen that will pop up is this. Choose Create Installation Media, and then hit Next. From here, you can select the language, edition, and architecture, or you can just use the recommended options. Choose USB flash drive so that you can install it to your flash drive. Next, choose the flash drive that you're going to install it to and hit Next. From here, Windows 10 will be installed on this USB drive. I'll cut to when this is done so I can show you the next steps. Once the media creation tool is finished, a pop-up will appear that says that your USB drive is ready. Just click Finish and then we can move on to actually using that tool to install Windows. Now that you have your Windows installation media, plug that into the computer you plan to install Windows on. From here, turn your computer on and go to the BIOS. Once in the BIOS, there will be a button that says Boot Menu, or you can press F8 to bring that up. Select the USB that the Windows installation media is on and boot into that Windows installation media. Okay, so the final part of building is to install Windows and get all of your drivers and just make sure your computer's up and running. So I'm actually installing Windows in a VM, but this should be the exact same for you. Just make sure all of your stuff is right, depending on, your language, your keyboard, and then do it. Install now, and the setup will eventually start. I'll skip to where we actually need to go through instructions. So at this point, if you have a Windows product key, you can enter it here. If you don't, you can buy one, or you can just say, I don't have a product key. Then choose whatever Windows 10 edition you want. This will have to go with your product key, so if you have a product key, make sure you choose the right edition for that. Actually, I think it may just give you that edition. You won't have to choose it. Anyways, I'm going to go with Pro. Accept license terms next. And then this is a big one. This is a big one. So you can upgrade, but you don't want to do this unless you're upgrading from Windows 7. You won't want to do this. What you should go to is Custom. Then in Custom, you'll have your drive or your multiple drives where you can create partitions and install Windows on a different partition. Now, unless you have some sort of setup that you want to do with your drives, so like you have a partition for Linux and a partition for Windows, just hit Next. Otherwise, if you do have that setup, hit New and create that partition for Windows. Now this is what's going to take the majority of the time. This is where all of your stuff is actually going to install. Windows is going to do all of its updates. Now that Windows has been installed, it's time to get the drivers that our hardware needs. When Windows installs, it's going to automatically get some drivers that will allow your system to run. However, it's good practice to install all of the drivers that your manufacturer gives. So the first drivers we're going to get are our motherboard drivers. So to find your motherboard drivers, just search your motherboard's name and then drivers. The first link should be all your drivers, but you may need to dig a little bit if you get a different link. Once you find that, select your OS. I'm using Windows 10 64-bit, so that's the OS I'll choose. From here, you should download all of the drivers so that you have maximum functionality with your motherboard. Now, they may not all be required, but I always recommend that you just get all of them. Once you have all of your motherboard drivers, you can move on to your video card drivers. For your video card drivers, just search up the manufacturer and the drivers. I'm using an NVIDIA card, so I'll use NVIDIA drivers. Now, I always prefer to do it manually, but you can also do the automatic route. But just follow all of the search steps for your card. So I have a GeForce product. It's in the RTX 20 series and it's a 2070 Super. My OS is Windows 10 64-bit, and I need a game-ready driver because I'm not using it as a studio. Search it up, and then you'll have the driver that you need. Download it, install it, and that should be your driver. The next type of drivers to go over are your CPU's drivers. So just search up the name of your CPU. In my case, I have a Core i5-4570, and then search up drivers. Then it will take you to a page with all the software and drivers for your processor. You're going to need to install any one that says drivers and any one that has your OS on it. So Windows 10 64-bit driver type, I'd install this driver. You can then look at the software to see if you want any of it, but it's completely optional and it's not needed. Once you've installed all the drivers that your computer needs, you are finished building it and you can move on to its normal day-to-day use. I hope this video helped you to build that computer, and I hope that your computer will be able to stay running for many years to come. Thanks for watching my video.